Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Autism Stories. I'm your host, Doug Bletcher, the founder of Autism Personal Coach. Autistic people are the true experts of the autistic experience, and Autism Stories is where we interview autistic people to learn from their stories, experiences, and get their insights. If you'd like to be notified about each week's episode of Autism Stories, we suggest you subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. We would also appreciate it if you could give us a positive rating and review, as it will help others to learn about autism stories. I had the opportunity to learn about Sofi Ghassaei's songwriting and poetry earlier this year and came away so impressed. And I'm thrilled that Sofi joins this episode to discuss how teachers can better support non speaking autistic students, the play that she wrote, and the songwriting she's done with her fiance. We hope you enjoy today's conversation. Sofi, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi, all. I'm Sophie, and I am a non speaking writer. My mom is my CRP today and most days. Abby, my other CRP, will be reading for me today since she is a young woman whose voice I like. You may hear me talking a lot and wonder about the non speaking label. It doesn't really fit, but my dislike of being called an unreliable speaker rivals that of being labeled low functioning or severe. I need people to understand that my trouble mouth is not a reflection of my intelligence or my thoughts.
And starting out our conversation, Sofi, I'd love to learn, where does your story in the autistic community begin?
I never really had a community before I learned to spell. I have had many wonderful teachers and CRPs, but thank COVID lockdown for unlocking a huge wealth of opportunities. Online classes and social groups have opened up the world for non-speakers. I am in writing groups, art, Spellers and Allies Advocacy Network, really awesome classes, and social groups. Of course, I have local friends too. Our community of spellers is growing exponentially, and so many in my age range.
And I recently had the privilege to attend a free virtual event presented by the International Association for Spelling as Communication. And this event celebrated and showcased non speaking songwriters from all over the world. And Sofi, you were one of the very talented writers that were showcased. You co wrote one of my favorite songs at the event called Something Lost Was Found. Can you talk a little bit about what that song was about and your process for writing your beautiful lyrics to this song?
This song was a love song, obviously, that I co wrote with my fiance, Zach. We had been chatting about a duet, so I wrote the first verse and chorus, then asked him to reply. We can't sing, so we had Tom and Stacy, the parents of some friends, interpret our love. We didn't revise our lyrics as our feelings were true from the start. Only one word didn't fit with the melody. It's really so slow to compose on a letterboard. I did my own melody for boards and chords last year, but I'm too busy with theater right now. Expect more duets in the future. Our heads are overflowing with music.
Well, I'm excited to hear that there's going to be more duets in the future because I love this one, so I can only imagine what the future will bring. So, something that's so important to me is connection and collaboration. And in thinking about that, you were one of five writers internationally selected for the 2022-23 Links Amplify project, which pairs autistic poets with composers to set their words to music. Can you tell me a little bit about that collaborative experience for you?
It has been so interesting to see my poetry come to life as opera. You know, any poet lets go of their verse, and the reader is free to interpret as they see fit, bringing all their past experience and future dreams into the fabric of the text. Like a tapestry woven by many hands, only at the end can we see the full picture. My vision is for me alone.
And you wrote a wonderful play titled Words Unheard. And I read where you said someone asked you to put your soul out there and write a play. So, new things can cause us as autistics all kinds of anxiety. Why did you decide to take on this challenge, and in what ways did this experience positively impact your life?
Yes, I also struggle with major anxiety, but the writing part was easy. Not physically, of course. It's really fatiguing to spell a play one letter at a time. I find writing cathartic, especially when writing a drama. And special ed is traumatic for many autistic. I did it on a dare. My anxiety said I couldn't do it, so I said, watch me. Actually, it led to more creative opportunities, including another play.
Now, in Words Unheard, which is based upon your experience and it portrays a high school special ed classroom in which the teachers assume a non speaking autistic student has nothing to say. And with vivid poetry, it express her inner thoughts. One of your inner thoughts in this play was that the classroom is overwhelming and the teachers are oblivious. I'd imagine there are so many things, but what are some things that immediately come to mind that teachers could do to better support non speaking autistic students?
Well, the first thing would be to treat students with respect. Read age appropriate material, listen to their parents if they are non speakers, think outside of the box. If a student isn't responding to your teaching method, try a different method instead of giving up on them as unteachable. When people ask when I will graduate and assume that I went to school for such a long time just to stay at home with my parents, what those people don't realize is that almost all autistic non speakers live at home. At least my family can understand my needs and desires. Everyone at school always tries to guess what I am thinking, and they are usually wrong, so they never really know me, only the stories they tell themselves about me. Of course, there are well intentioned people, but to not feel known by the people who are responsible for my future stinks.
And I would imagine theater can be very inaccessible place for non-speakers, like thinking about your play. What are some ways you think theaters could be more accessible for non-speaking performers in front of and behind the curtains?
Theater isn't a very accessible pastime for us, either as spectators or performers. Really hard to act when I can't control my body or speech. I wrote myself a small part in Words Unheard, but I couldn't even act like myself despite 2 decades of daily practice. I thank Lauren Marshall, the director of Theater of Possibility, for taking a chance on me. She has tons of experience teaching drama to neurodivergent students over the years, but most didn't have such high supports needs. It's also hard to sit quietly in a performance with so many people surrounding me. I would like a chance to sample shows during a dress rehearsal and not have to worry that I'm ruining someone's expensive night out.
And is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to discuss?
I'm part of the Spellers and Allies Advocacy Network and also the Ignite Collective Advisory Group on the Accessibility course. Advocating is rewarding but exhausting. That's why I have to do so much art and keep writing poetry to nourish my soul.
And you've already written so much beautiful poetry, a wonderful play. I'm wondering, what are you working on or hope to work on in the future?
So I mentioned I'm working on another play. It's called Love Letters, a truly short epistolary romance. It's about non speakers in a relationship, but it's a universal story of expectations not matching reality. We just finished casting and it will be running in Seattle in June. It's been so exciting to see my words come to life. Besides the script, there will be songs by non speakers between the acts. Many are songs by my friends, but I am also working on an original song called Find Your Power. I hope to publish a book of my poetry someday. I mean to find a way to keep writing forever. The letter becomes a word, the word becomes a poem, the poem becomes a life expressed.
Well, I've always wanted to go to Seattle, so maybe this would be my opportunity to see your wonderful play in June. Sophie, thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll definitely be following you and all that you're going to be doing in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Sophie for the conversation. To learn more about Sophie, please check out the link in the podcast description for this episode. At Autism Personal Coach, we provide customized coaching for autistics to help improve the quality of our lives. All of our coaches are either autistic or autistic selected for their commitment to trauma-informed and neurodiversity affirming strategies. They deeply understand burnout, sensory needs, executive functioning, and the importance of special interests. If you're interested in learning more about our coaching, please visit autismpersonalcoach.com for more information. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Autism Stories, and if you did, if you could tell a friend, foe, or anyone you know about it so they could have the same enjoyable and educational experience as you when listening to Autism Stories, it would be very much appreciated. Until next time, I'm Doug Bletcher of Autism Personal Coach. Talk to you then.